For those of you who are new, and all of you are because I've never really done this before, I did one last week and it went great. I'm really appreciative of everybody who showed up last week. And we had a pretty good discussion. We started getting into some deep topics, which is what I tend to like to do. I know this is all about happiness, but happiness means talking about difficult subjects sometimes. So welcome. And to get things started, I want to pose this question to you. How can I be happy when you fill in the blank? So usually we face something in life that just keeps popping up again and again. If it's a boss we hate, if it's kids that we can't control, if it's road rage, or maybe the loss of a loved one, these kinds of things can get in the way of our being happy. So I'm posing this to you, and I'd like you to share your situation with me, and I'll see what kind of a response I can give you, some thoughts that I can share as to so actually here's something about the Be Happy Now Club. I'm working on a tagline, and let me know what you think. I really want to hear from you. At the Be Happy Now Club, we're not just about being happy, we're about doing happy, because happiness is a verb, and it involves doing a lot of things that maybe we're not used to, and trying things different ways that will help us to be happy. So let me know what you think as far as a tagline. And I'd also like to share that I've been asked to speak at the Happiness Coalition retreat in Dominican Republic in April. You're all invited. The details are on the website, behappynowclub.com. And you're totally welcome to join us. It's going to be an amazing retreat, amazing getaway. It'll be kind of like a vacation where you get to meet with a bunch of other people who want to be happy. And there's going to be awesome presenters there, including me. Yay. I'm super stoked with the opportunity. I just can't wait to be there. I wish it was this weekend. But it's going to be end of April. Again, go to behappynowclub.com and look at the details, see if you can make it. And if not, we're gonna be here all the time. So every week, Thursdays at 3 Pacific. Hey Zip, how's it going? So I've posed this question to everybody, and I'm just waiting for people to think about it and maybe share their thoughts of how can you be happy when ... you fill in the blank of something that might be giving you trouble. And some examples I gave are maybe like a boss that you hate, or road rage, drivers are awful on the road, losing a loved one. Those can be some things that that give us a difficult time. So for the best results, type your questions on the left or do the /Q, and that'll let me know when you've got a topic that you'd like me to respond to. So in the meantime, I'm going to start talking about some situations that I came up on my own as just things that come up. And the first one was, how can I be happy when bad things happen? And bad things happen all the time. That's part of life. And, this isn't on my little list, but it's part of what we just have to do when bad things happen is to surrender. We just have to accept that bad things happen in life. And that's very true, Zippy. It's very true. So the first thing is to not react. Usually we kind of get caught in our head. We get caught in our normal reaction. And what our reactions, our jerk reactions, usually take us out of the moment. And that actually disempowers us. If we're caught in our head, we're not in the moment, we're not present, it disempowers us. We don't have the power to do things that will make the situation go right. So first of all, don't react. Reactions usually make things worse. So find ways to catch yourself before you get into a reaction. I like to breathe. Breathing is a big one for me. Probably everybody likes to breathe. So the next thing you can do once you start breathing is to stay present in the moment, stay connected to the situation. And part of that means feeling your emotions and flowing with them without judging them. Sorry, I'm just reading Zippy's comments here. Because you can do something about it. Yeah, I again control, just like you say, control is also kind of an illusion. And so when we're unhappy, it's usually because we don't feel like we're in control of a situation. And that's where the surrender comes in, is that if we realize that we're not in control, then the pressure's off. What we have power then is of ourselves, of our reaction or response. I think that we shouldn't react, we should respond. And to respond instead of react, you have to have that moment of break of, okay, wait a second, what is the end result that I really want here? And so if you don't react, you stay present in the moment, you think, what can I do here to get the best result? Then that gives you the power of the present moment to go figure out, okay, how can I do my very best? And that's really the next thing is, do your best. Keep your integrity in every situation. And regardless of what other people do, that should never control what you do or how you react to people. So, do your very best and keep your integrity. And the last thing that I kind of had in mind of when something bad happens, what can you do, is to focus on what's important. And just for examples, for me, what's important is to be kind to people. Keeping my integrity is important. Trying to, being honest is important. And so I usually tell the truth, even if people don't want to hear it. I try to be very nice about it, but I will be honest in a situation. And so, now this situation, when something bad happens, that's very generic. And so these different thoughts of don't react, respond, take a pause, stay present, do your best and keep your integrity, and then focus on what's important. And if you do those four things in any situation, you're going to come off pretty good, much better than if you get lost into that headspace or lost in your negative jerk reactions. And like Zippy said, negative is a judgment. But it's really difficult in our language, in any language, to communicate without using some kind of judgment. And that's going to be a whole other conversation, a whole other chat. So, and it is on the list. So we'll be talking about judgments, the types of judgments. So if you come back for future happy hours, then we'll talk about them. Okay. So just a reminder, if you have some thoughts of, hey, what's getting in your way of being happy? Maybe you have a persistent situation in your life that is kind of a burr in your side, or maybe you feel like you're banging your head against the wall. Please share that with us. I think I'm new to Blab Chat, but I think that you type /Q in the chat area, and then that'll pop up and I'll know that that's something that's a topic that you'd like to cover. So now, a topic that came up last week was a really good one. Somebody had lost somebody close to them, and they were wondering, what do you do? They had lots of questions. What do you do when you lose somebody who's close to you that you love so much, and now you're experiencing that deep sense of loss? And my first thought about that is to allow yourself to feel your feelings. I've been talking about emotions a lot, and I'm putting together an online course about emotional intelligence, how to deal with your emotions. And part of that, one of the main concepts is that emotions are like a river. They flow from one emotion to the next, to the next, to the next. And part of what the best thing for us to do is to observe those emotions and to flow with them, rather than trying to hold on to happiness or hold on to sorrow or hold on to anger. We do a lot of holding on with our emotions, and that creates needless suffering. Our tough emotions feel bad enough already. Why make it worse by trying to hold on to them? Okay. And so flowing with your emotions is important when you're experiencing a loss. So allow yourself to feel those feelings. We'll go through the phases of grief, starting from denial and anger to depression and finally acceptance. And that's normal. If we allow ourselves to flow with emotions, we'll go through those, and actually they kind of It's like an emotional roller coaster that we go through. But if you allow yourself to feel those feelings, you're going to do much better and not get stuck in any of those tough emotions. The next thing that I would recommend is balancing your alone time versus your active time. If we're feeling sadness, we're experiencing loss, it's really easy to shut off our lives. It's easy to shut people out. It's easy to shut ourselves in. And it's important to stay active, stay involved in your life. Don't cut your life off just because you're having feeling such difficult emotions. So find balance between your active and alone time. There are other people who try to avoid their sadness by being overly active. And you don't want to do that either. You need to have some good alone time, to have a good cry, to have a good scream, or, because again, you're going to go through those different emotions of depression and denial and anger. So do it. If you have somebody that you can talk to about it, awesome. But also have some of that alone time. Okay. So again, the idea is to keep the balance between your alone time and your active time or social time. The last bit, the last thought that I have as far as when you're experiencing loss is to honor their legacy. There is something good about everyone who's been on this planet. And I think the most important thing in loss, whether that loss is from a death, we can also lose somebody by ending a relationship. So loss doesn't just happen by death. I should have said that at the beginning. We can lose somebody in our lives in a lot of different ways. But that loss still expresses itself in the same ways, of those emotions of sadness and that feeling of loss. And so for anyone who's been in your life, take away the positive that they left in your life. And everyone has left something positive. It just, sometimes you have to look for it. If somebody's kind of felt like a negative influence in your life, there's always something positive. Now, another thing that I find a lot is that people tend to rail against the world, or they might get stuck in their sadness, so depressed that they can't even function. And now, in the case of a person dying, do you really think that they would want you to live your life that way? I mean, you probably think that you're being so sad for them and trying to show them how much you cared about them. But do you think they would really want you to stop your life for them? No, they would want you to live on and to live as much life as you possibly could. And so to honor their legacy, you want to go out and live as much life as you possibly can. And, in honoring the legacy of somebody who maybe you've broken up with, end of a relationship or something like that, you can honor their legacy by continuing the good things that they brought into your life. I know that when I've been in relationships, they've always brought something new and fun and interesting into my life, whether it was a new hobby or a new interest. And I've made sure to continue a lot of those things because they took on meaning in my life. And so go through your emotions, balance your alone time versus your social and active time, and honor their legacy. And those are my thoughts on how you can experience loss and then still make it into a positive experience, have happiness through that whole experience. So I'm going to pause again just to ask those who are here to share your thoughts if you would like, or ask questions if you have them. And if there's been something in your life, and I'm going to do this topic again. So if you can't think of anything now, plus hopefully there's going to be a lot more club members who can join us. I'm going to talk about this a lot, is how can I be happy when fill in the blank? So let me know what you think. If you have any thoughts, please share them. And if you have a situation that's giving you trouble, please share that as well. And I'll give you some thoughts that you might benefit from, hopefully. Okay. So the last thing that I thought I would bring as my own type of a situation, because today has been a crappy day. I'm going to be honest about it. It's been a crappy day. And it's been a kind of a buildup of crappiness that has culminated in today. So I thought I had to ask myself, okay, how can I be happy when all this stuff is going on? So I made a little list. I don't know if other people ever feel overwhelmed by life sometimes, but this is how my day has gone. And the thoughts that I had for that and the things that have really helped me kind of turn this day back right side up because it was severely upside down is first thing, stop. Stop whatever you're doing. Stop whatever you're thinking. Stop being in that headspace because whatever you're doing obviously isn't working. What you have been doing has gotten you to where you are right now. So stop. And that's probably the most powerful thing you can do, because a lot of times we just get so caught up in our lives. We keep going and going and going. And we don't allow ourselves to stop. We just keep on pushing on to the next thing. And I know that that's a big cultural thing, because when I've traveled to other parts of the world, a lot of other cultures have built into their culture to stop. My favorite place in the world that I've been to so far is Holland. And the biggest reason is because those people know how to relax. They will shut down their shops at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They will go home and surround themselves by the people they love. They'll break open a bottle of wine and some cigars, and they'll sit there and they'll talk with each other until late into the night. And that's them really grabbing onto what's important in life. And that's just like, that's a big stop that they have in their life, because work shouldn't be the most important thing in your life. Playing shouldn't be the most important thing in your life. If you get too much of any one thing, work, play, sleep, do it in balance. Because if you get too much of any of one of those, you're gonna get out of balance in life, and that's gonna cause some pain and suffering, whether emotionally or mentally, possibly physically. So after you stop, take a step back, because one of the most important things for us to do in life is to have a healthy perspective. And hi, Melinda. Welcome. The happy hour happy chats are every Thursday at 3 Pacific. And you can always find us at happiness.fyi. I tried to find an easy to remember little link that you can save or remember. And you're always welcome. Please join the club. The whole thing about the Be Happy Now Club is that I want to get as many people involved of not just being happy, but doing happy. And I want to touch as many lives as I possibly can in this short little life that I have. And the way I'm going to do that is through you, so that if I can help you find happiness, then you can help others find happiness. And I hope that you just found us on Facebook. Awesome. Yeah, that's the main place where we are, because right now it's a one-man show, but I hope to have a lot of members of the Be Happy Now Club as we go along. So please share the happiness. So today's topic is, how can I be happy when ... And you're welcome to cue in. I've been sharing some situations that I thought up of my own, just to share some thoughts with you. And but if you have something that's persisting in your life that is maybe getting in the way of you being happy, the examples I keep coming out with are, a boss that you hate, road rage, kids you can't control, perhaps loss. And we've talked about when you lose somebody, some things that you can do. We've also talked about what you can do when something bad happens. And that's kind of a generic thing, but there are some definite tools that you can put into your happiness toolbox to face tough situations. Okay. So I'm recording this, and I'm going to, and I should have said this at the beginning also, I'm going to every week, we're going to have the discussion. I'm going to be interviewing guests from time to time. I'm going to have some awesome people on the happy hour. And we're going to give you the download of the video, also the podcast, if you like to download podcasts and listen maybe while you're at the gym or going for a walk, taking the dog out. And I'm going to create a PDF download with the highlights of the discussion, so that you can kind of build your library of happiness And every single time we're going to give you some thoughts to expand your perception or your view of the world, and tools to add to your happiness toolbox. Because that's really the whole thing about being happy, is that you know how to handle life in such a way that it brings you joy and lasting peace. So now I'm kind of in the middle of a topic, which is how can you be happy when you just can't take it anymore? And that's how my day has gone, is that I just reached this point where I felt like I can't take it anymore. And so I'm going to stay midstream and just share that I wrote the book, The Shortcut to Happiness. You can also get that on BeHappyNowClub.com. And the point of The Shortcut to Happiness, my whole approach to happiness, is that I think that happiness is really simple. And we're the ones who make life difficult. And so learning to be happy is really a lot about unlearning how to be unhappy, because we get born into this crazy mad world. It's a tough world to live in. And we learn how to be unhappy, because I think that our basic, most truest nature is to have joy and peace. I think that's who we are down to our deepest core self. And as we go through life, we learn to be somebody who is unhappy. We learn these perceptions, judgments, expectations, and it's all these rules that we create in our head that make us unhappy. So we have to unlearn all of that. And so that's what we're here to do, is unlearn unhappiness and relearn happiness. Okay. So, so when you feel like you just can't take it anymore, I'm just going to recap what we've talked about so far on that, is to stop. Just stop whatever you're doing. It's not working. It's gotten to where you are right now. Take a step back and get a really good perspective. And I'm going to do a whole happy hour on perspective, because I've got some fun analogies on perspective that kind of help us understand how our perspective on life affects our experience of life. So if you're unhappy, there's a lot of perspectives that you might have, okay, that are contributing to your unhappiness. So take a step back and get some perspective. And at this point, you want to ask some important questions. So the first question is it worth all this worry and stress? Okay, if you feel like you can't take it anymore, you're stressing out about something. What is it? What are you stressing about? Is it worth it? So answer that question. That's an important question to answer. And then answer this question: what are you trying to accomplish? Because a lot of times we're trying to do something good. We're trying to accomplish some goal that's probably a positive, good goal or a worthwhile goal, but we might be going about it in the wrong way. So if we look at, okay, well, what are we, sometimes we get focused on, here's what I'm doing. I've got to do this just because this is what I have in front of my face. Again, that's a perspective thing. Is, well, what's the bigger picture? What are we actually trying to accomplish? And then, is there a better way to do that? So take some time to yourself to think through things first. Better than what you've been doing, is there a better way to get those same results? And here's another good one. Again, this was my day, just feeling like I couldn't handle it anymore. I've got so much on my plate. My plate's just overflowing, and things just keep on trying to jump on my plate, and I just feel like, okay, well, I can't do it all. It's impossible. And so I had to stop. I had to take a step back, get some perspective. I had to ask myself some important questions. And the biggest one for me was, is it worth it? And another big one for me was, what can I let go of? Because a lot of times we try to, again, here comes the control thing. We try to control our world. We try to control other people. We try to control the results or outcome of certain things. And it's this control that actually starts making us feel like we can't handle anymore, because, your hands can only hold so much. And if you feel like you can't handle anymore, and what you're handling so far is making you miserable, well, it's time to let go of some stuff. So what can you let go of? And the other part of that is that a lot of times we try to do things that other people should be doing. And we just do it because we know that we can do it and we can do it right. And if we let somebody else do it, then it's going to go wrong. And that's one of those things that really contributes to our unhappiness, is that we feel like we have to do it. Sometimes you just have to let the chips fall where they fall and do your best in that situation. A lot of life doesn't happen the way we want it to, or the way that we think it should. So you just have to do your best, even when the chips fall where you don't think they should. And you kind of have to let other people take the fall for whatever is their responsibility. And I've known a lot of people who are in codependent relationships, some of them where one of the partners is an addict. And the thing about addict dysfunctional relationships, for instance, is that one of the people feels like they have to keep everything together. So the one who's the addict is going around tearing life apart, and the other one is following up behind, cleaning up the messes, or trying to keep things from falling apart in the first place. And that, again, puts your life out of balance. And usually when those people reach a point of no return, they realize that they just can't do it anymore. They just have to let that other person fall. And it's painful, and it's no fun. And I've been there when it's happened, and it is painful and no fun. But it kind of is necessary in order for things to set themselves back to right. Okay, so that was kind of a tangent, but the point here is ask important questions. And to me, I feel like the secret to happiness lies in asking the right questions. Because if you ask the right questions, you'll get the right answers. And I'll just share one of the questions that we ask probably the most, that causes the most misery, is what's wrong with me? And that's a bad question. That it's just not a good question. And there's no way to win that question, because there's nothing wrong with you. You're probably doing your best in an impossible situation. So you're okay. It's just life sucks sometimes. So you've got to learn how to deal with it and flow with it and do your best no matter what. And be okay with that. Okay. So another important thing, and something that I got a chance to do with so gladly, thankfully, thank you to the person who allowed me to do this. They're here today. Hold on one second. So it looks like Feng Shui joined us. And Feng Shui, welcome. We are talking about how can I be happy when weird things happen in life. So right now we're talking about when you think you can't take it anymore. Life has given you way too much. What you can do is talk to someone. It is one of the most healing things in the world to talk about your problems. But it's one of the hardest things in the world to find somebody you can trust to hear what you're saying without judging you, without thinking negatively of you, without thinking of you as a pariah. Again, this is kind of a cultural thing. We tend to shun people who are having a bad day. We're like, hi to their face, but then like, oh, what's her problem, behind their back. And we all know that. And we try to avoid letting people know we're having a bad day just because we know people are going to talk. And I think it's an important thing to change in our culture, is to allow people to have a bad day, allow people to talk about their feelings, even if they're not awesome. And it's doing that is going to help us to be able to talk about our own emotions. And if we feel safe and we can talk about our feelings, we can talk about our problems in a way that we feel safe, that is going to do so much healing right there. And as a happiness coach, that's a lot of what I do, is listen and just allowing people to feel safe when they talk. And if you can be that for other people, awesome. If you can find somebody to do that for you, awesome. Please find that person. And here are the caveats that I have about talking freely. The first one is not to complain. If you're talking about something that you need to get off your chest, don't complain. Getting things off your chest and complaining are different. Complaining is actually a way of holding on to those negative emotions. And there's an energy transfer in complaining. Of that negativity is not only poisoning you, but when you complain to somebody, it poisons them too. And that's not a good situation. So learning how to express yourself and actually letting that, experience let go of those tough emotions, that's important. And that's kind of a skill that we have to learn, is how to get things off our chest without complaining about them. Um, Now, the other thing is to not talk about these things out of anger. Now, we can sometimes take our tough emotions out on other people, and it's usually in a violent, unkind, or uh, well, I'll just leave it at that, violent or unkind way. And what that does, again, is spread the negative energy. And it's important to not take out your emotions on other people, but to express them. And you'll feel like your load has lightened once you've had a chance to express yourself. Now, other things that you can do if you don't have someone that you can talk to, whether in the moment or so far in your life, you can journal. That's a very good way to express yourself and to feel safe about saying things. I used to be an avid journaler. Now I'm a big talker, obviously. But journaling was an important way to even understand the thoughts that were going on in my own head. And I didn't realize what was in my head until I had expressed it. So find ways that you can express yourself in a healthy way and avoid complaining and avoid taking out your emotions on other people. And that will do wonders, miracles for helping you to heal through a situation or to let go of things to a point where you can actually do something right in that situation. So the last thought that I have for this topic was that if it feels like everything's falling apart, let it fall apart. Maybe that's the best thing that needs to happen, is for things to fall apart. And when things fall apart, you've probably heard this say, it's when things fall apart, you have a chance to put them together the right way. So it may be in your life that you've got all the right things going on, but they might not be put together the right way. And so it can be, I had a chance to express myself today. That was really the thing that let me get back to balance and to myself. And thank you to the person who allowed me to do that. And as I expressed myself, I allowed myself to fall apart and just say, hey, you know what? I'm trying to hold too many things together. I'm trying to keep it all together too much. And it's time to let go of all that. So, so if you feel like things are falling apart, let them. And if it feels like you're falling apart, maybe you need to do a little bit of falling apart. And we're afraid to fall apart because we think we'll break. And I think what usually happens is that when we fall apart, we find that it's this self that really isn't us, that we've been afraid to let go of. We've been afraid to let that part of us break. And when we let that part of us break, what's left is us, our true self. And so when you let yourself fall apart, when you let life or things in your life fall apart, what happens is that you usually find yourself through that experience. And that's the most important thing for finding happiness, is finding yourself, getting really in tune with yourself, your truest self. So if things in your life aren't working, let them fall apart. Find ways to express yourself in healthy ways. Ask yourself the right questions. Take a step back and get a good perspective. And first of all, stop whatever it is that you're doing. What you're doing has led to where you are now. And so to get somewhere else in life, you need to do something different. So take a big breath and let it go. Point yourself in the direction where you want to be, and then take the next step. That's really all you can ever do in life, is point yourself the direction you want to go and take that next step. And then take joy in that, because now you're on the journey of happiness. So I'm going to open this up to everyone one last time, give you a chance to share some thoughts or some questions. Has there been something in your life that has just been bugging you, or is persistent, you feel like you're banging your head against the wall, or not getting the results you think you should, or you feel so frustrated about something, I'll just wait a few seconds and let you share that with us. And if you've got something, then I'd love to talk about it. I'll ramble about it. And while you're thinking about that, I'm just going to, again, invite you to go to behappynowclub.com and save that in your browser. Join us on Facebook. We're going to do this happy hour happiness hangouts every Thursday at 3 Pacific. So I invite you to be here every single week. They're just casual. I want there to be a lot of conversation and talking with each other. I want to thank you who are here for being here. I'm having fun doing this, and I want to involve a lot of other people in this process of not just talking about happiness, but doing happiness, being actually happy. That's the whole point of the Be Happy Now Club. So again, if you want to take something home, or maybe hold on, because I'm going to do some giveaways as part of the happy hour. I've found a lot of happiness in my life, and I just want to share it. And I feel like the more I share, it'll benefit you. And the more happiness that you find, the more you're going to want to share it. At least that's my hope, is that we'll just get this gigantic community of people sharing and creating happiness across this planet. So there's no questions. So I'm just going to thank you one last time for being here. Be here again next week. We're going to do this every time. And follow up on the website, behappynowclub.com, or you can go to happiness.fyi. And I'm going to start posting the videos for this, the podcast, and a PDF download of the highlights of the meeting, of this hangout, so that you can build your happiness toolbox. And so thanks again for being here. Hugs and happiness to you. And I hope to see you next week.